Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are on a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, to ask a question, press star and the number 1 on your phone and record your name at the prompt. This call is being recorded. If you have any objections, please disconnect at this time. I will now turn the call over to Allison Hunt. Thank you. You may begin.
Good evening and welcome to this Food and Drug Administration media briefing on the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine emergency use authorization. I'm Allison Hunt with the FDA's Office of Media Affairs. In a moment, I will turn it over to Acting FDA Commissioner Dr. Janet Woodcock for opening remarks. Following Dr. Woodcock, Dr. Peter Marks, the Director of the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, will also provide brief remarks. After the remarks, we will then move to the question and answer portion of the call. Reporters on the call will be in listen-only mode until we open the call up for questions. As a reminder, this call is being recorded and live streamed on the FDA's YouTube channel. When asking a question, please state your name and affiliation. Also, please ensure questions pertain to today's announcement and limit yourself to one question and one follow-up so we can get to as many questions as possible. With that, I will now turn it over to Acting FDA Commissioner Dr. Janet Woodcock.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you all for joining us. Today, the FDA granted the third emergency use authorization for a COVID-19 vaccine. With the FDA's authorization and following review by the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and with the endorsement by the Director of the CDC, this additional vaccine will soon be distributed throughout the country by our federal partners who oversee vaccine allocation and distribution. Today's authorization expands the availability of vaccines, one of our best tools for preventing COVID-19, to help us in the fight against this pandemic. Through FDA's open and transparent scientific review process, 3 COVID-19 vaccines have now been authorized in an expedited time frame with the urgency called for during this pandemic, using the agency's rigorous standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality needed to support emergency use authorization. The process that FDA uses to review medical products is respected worldwide and commonly referred to as the gold standard because of a well-established history that the agency has the most rigorous and accurate review processes globally. For this vaccine, as with the previously authorized COVID-19 vaccines, our process not only included a thorough review of the data by the agency's career staff, but also included input from external scientific and public health experts. Our scientific and medical review staff reviewed hundreds of pages of technical data about this vaccine thoroughly, efficiently, and transparently. The Public Advisory Committee meeting we hosted yesterday provided a robust discussion with external experts, just like we saw with the first 2 COVID-19 vaccine EUAs. As you saw yesterday, the committee's input supported the FDA's own determination that the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine's known and potential benefits outweigh its known and potential risks, with clear evidence that the vaccine may be effective in preventing COVID-19. This transparency around our review process should assure the public that this vaccine met the FDA's rigorous standards for quality, safety, and efficacy. Today's authorization of a third COVID-19 vaccine, coupled with continued public health measures and progress in treatments, holds promise to further battle the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I'd like to turn to Dr. Peter Marks, our Director of the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, for a few remarks. Dr. Marks.
Thank you, Dr. Woodcock. Today's emergency use authorization of the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine is another milestone as we work to end the COVID-19 pandemic. Guided by our careful review of the science and data, we've determined that the vaccine's known and potential benefits clearly outweigh its known and potential risks. Today's authorization demonstrates our unwavering commitment to the health of the American people with the assurance that our scientific standards and integrity have been maintained. We also considered, as part of our own review, the Advisory Committee's recommendation, with all members voting that this product's known and potential benefits outweigh its known risks. Today's achievement is yet another testament to the dedication of FDA's career scientists and physicians who have been working tirelessly to conduct comprehensive and rigorous evaluations of submitted data for vaccines to prevent COVID-19. Their diligent efforts, as they continuously engage with sponsors to provide feedback on technical issues over the past several months, and carefully planned and executed an expedited review process, got us to this point. As we've noted before, our work evaluating vaccines does not end with the authorization. We expect vaccine manufacturers to continue studying their vaccines and to move forward towards licensure. Active follow-up for safety, including monitoring for any significant adverse events to inform ongoing benefit-risk assessment, is also required. At the same time, the FDA will continue to work with the CDC on extensive safety surveillance, as we have since the first COVID-19 vaccine was authorized in December. We're confident in our finding that the Janssen COVID-19 vaccine meets our rigorous standards of safety and effectiveness. Similarly to the previously authorized COVID-19 vaccines, the vaccine should not be given to individuals with a known history of severe allergic reactions to any of its components. We're also requiring appropriate medical treatment for the management of immediate allergic reactions be immediately available in the event of an acute anaphylactic reaction. Before we turn to the question and answer portion of this media call, I want to end by noting that we take our responsibility to the American people quite seriously, and we're grateful to have helped in this significant achievement. Thank you, and now I'll turn back to the moderator to begin questions and answers.
Thank you, Dr. Marks. At this time, we'll begin the question and answer portion of the briefing. As a reminder, this call is being recorded. When asking a question, please state your name and affiliation. Also, please ensure questions pertain to today's announcement and limit yourself to one question and one follow-up so we can get to as many questions as possible. Operator, we'll take the first question.
Thank you. We do not have any questions at the moment. It is star one for any questions. Please stand by. Our first question comes from Julie Steenhuisen. Your line is open.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I'm just wondering if there has been any update in the number of doses that will be shipped, and can you give us an idea of exactly when you plan to ship doses? Thank you.
Thanks for that question. I will defer that to Dr. Marks, who I think has the most updated information.
I can't speak to the exact number of doses, but they will have an increasing number of doses available over the coming months, and the federal COVID-19 response team will be responsible for shipping the vaccine, which should happen as early as next week.
What day, please?
I can't say what day.
Okay, thank you.
The next
Operator
question
will take the next.
The next question comes from Lauren McGinley. Your line is open.
Oh, hi. Thanks so much for doing this. Dr. Marks, you talked to the advisory committee a little bit about people who were 60 with comorbidities and the efficacy rate being lower. Are you okay about that now, or what's your thinking about that issue which you brought up to the outside panel?
Dr. Marks?
So thanks very much for that question. I think the feeling was that the question was asked and answered. Our own reviewers, as well as the advisory committee members, felt that there was a good explanation in the incoming data that suggested that with larger data sets, that the differences in people over 60, in terms of particularly those with comorbidities, were essentially disappearing with increased number of cases that came in. And so obviously we'll watch that as additional data come in, but at this time there's no concern about reduced efficacy in the older population.
Operator will take the next question, please.
The next question comes from Matt Herbert. Your line is open.
Hey, I hope this isn't too off topic, but I was wondering if you could comment at all on there are phase 3 data sets for the Novavax and AstraZeneca vaccines. But it seems that we're waiting for the U.S. trials on those to read out before going through this very rigorous review process that we've just seen for J&J. And I'm hearing a lot of questions about why. So I was wondering if either Dr. Woodcock or Dr. Marks could comment.
Again, I think Dr. Marks would be best to comment on that. Peter?
Yeah, thanks very much. I think the best I can say is that we have worked with the companies to develop phase 3 trials that would potentially meet the standards that we set forth in our June 30th, 2020 guidance. That AstraZeneca is conducting a trial and Novavax are conducting trials that will help us ensure that we are confident that the vaccines meet the standards that we expect for safety, effectiveness, and quality vaccines that we expect the American people to want to see.
Operator will take the next question, please.
Thank you. The next question comes from Amy Birnbaum. Your line is open.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. I just wondered what the messaging is for the public that's looking at, the 90% efficacy of the other vaccines and the lowered efficacy. What is the messaging around ensuring that there's that it doesn't become a sort of a tiered system? Thank you.
Yeah, this is Janet Woodcock. We believe that people should take the vaccine that they are able to access. We feel all these vaccines meet our standards for effectiveness. They were not studied in head-to-head trials, and so it's really very difficult to compare right now due to differences in the development program. So we think each of these vaccines are effective. They will protect people, and people should take a vaccine that is available. Dr. Marks, do you have anything to add?
Dr. Woodcock, I think you covered it. You covered it very well. They're all of these FDA-authorized vaccines are effective in preventing hospitalization and deaths from COVID-19, and so they can be administered to any individual eligible to receive a COVID-19 vaccine in order to break the cycle of COVID-19 illness. I think we've evaluated and analyzed the safety and effectiveness data for all 3 of the vaccines and determined that the totality of the available data for each vaccine provides clear evidence to support that the known and potential benefits outweigh the known and potential risks for each vaccine's use. And so people should take whichever vaccine is available.
Operator will take the next question, please.
The next question comes from Jacqueline Howard. Your line is open.
Thanks for taking my question. So I understand, like you said, this is the best vaccine for anyone, but are there any certain populations that could benefit from this vaccine because it is a one-dose shot, because it is a little easier to transport and store? Are there plans to target any specific groups or any certain populations that could really benefit from this? Thank you.
Dr. Marks, do you have any comment? I mean, that will be more to further down the road. We have determined the safety and effectiveness that this vaccine meets the U.S. standards, and there will be other parts of the government that work on distribution.
If Dr. Marks has nothing else to say.
I'm sorry. I think Dr. Woodcock answered the question pretty much the way I would say. I mean, there are differences in how these vaccines can be stored that may make a difference down the line. The ability for the Janssen vaccine to be stored in the refrigerator as opposed to a freezer could be beneficial in certain circumstances, but that obviously will be something that those distributing the vaccine will help determine down the line.
Operator, we'll take the next question, please.
The next question comes from Ned Pirogo. Your line is open.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. The EUA label warns against administering the vaccine to anyone with a history of severe allergies to a component of Janssen's vaccine, as you mentioned. Are any of the ingredients known by FDA to be allergens for certain individuals?
Dr. Marks, I think that one's for you.
Yeah, actually, each of the vaccine can contain one of the things that can be an allergen, which is polysorbate 80 or polyethylene glycol in the case of the mRNA vaccine. So those are components that are known allergens. They're not very common ones, but they can be associated with allergic reactions. So that would be someone, if someone comes to a physician and says they've had an allergic reaction to a previous vaccine or to a previous medicine that was injected to them, the provider would want to be particularly cautious to get a careful history there.
Thank you.
Operator, we'll take the next question, please.
The next question comes from Avery Miller. Your line is open.
Great. I was asking, the question is, if the vaccine has a 72% efficacy rate in the clinical trial rates, but a number of scientists have celebrated that, but it falls short of the roughly 95% rate found in the studies testing Moderna and Pfizer. So is that an issue that it has a lower efficacy rate than Pfizer and Moderna?
Again, this is an effective vaccine that meets the federal standards. They haven't been tested head-to-head against one another, so it's very difficult to do a numerical comparison such as that. We feel that each of these vaccines will be effective, will prevent hospitalization and death, and should be used.
Okay, thank you.
Operator, we have time for one more question, please.
The next question comes from Alec Philippidis. Your line is open.
Hey, thanks, Commissioner and Director. The announcement today mentioned that the FDA expects manufacturers whose COVID-19 vaccines are authorized by EUA to continue clinical trials for additional safety and efficacy information for licensure approval. My question is how far or what sort of duration of data it would be looked at? Should they be compiling for a year, 2 years before pursuing more permanent licensure?
Dr. Marks?
Yeah, happy to try to answer that question. So we have set I think the issue for these studies, even if they come in for licensure, we may ask them to continue these studies because we'd like to have longer-term safety data. But I think in general for vaccines, we'd like to see at least 6 months of safety follow-up on the population because that helps us make sure that we've captured the kinds of adverse events that in a systematic manner that we'd like to. So that is about the type of safety data we'd like to see in our biologics license application. Obviously, we have individual conversations with each of the sponsors about what will actually be in the biologics license application.
Mm-hmm. So that's safety, and then for efficacy, the same 6-month time frame? In some of these cases, the efficacy's already been clearly demonstrated. But yes, we'll have the additional safety, additional efficacy updates at that point as well. Correct. Great. Thanks.
This concludes today's media briefing. A replay will be available on the FDA's YouTube page. The FDA's press release has been posted on the agency's website. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact the FDA press office at fdaoma@fda.hhs.gov. Thank you and goodbye.